Welcome everyone. In today's video I'm going to show you how to make a cute little kitchen hutch. You can see a variation of this hutch in my intro video. Starting off by drawing the bottom trim piece of the hutch. I measured out the piece on the graph paper and then I drew my decorative design on half of it so that I could fold it in half, then cut it out and it would look the same on the other side. I used my smallest scissors to cut out this little tiny design. This piece is going to be the bottom decorative trim for the front of the hutch. This next piece that I'm drawing out is the false front that the drawers will be glued onto. I drew out the measurements of the front piece onto the graph paper, and just like with the bottom decorative trim, I drew out my design on half of it so that I could fold it in half and then cut it out and both sides will look the same. Here is how my front piece looks, but you can always change it up. On my original hutch, I used a circular shape instead. I used masking tape and I taped the pattern down to some scrap cardstock and cut it out. Then I carefully peeled the pattern off of my piece. That way I can save it if I make the hutch again. Then I glued this piece down to some scrap cardstock and I cut it out again. And I repeat that process until I have 4 layers. If you're using food packaging, you may want to check the thickness of your piece to make sure that it's at least like a 1/16 of an inch thick. This is how my front piece looks with all 4 layers. I just repeat that same process over again for this bottom decorative trim. Just be sure to save your pattern pieces so that you can use them again. Here's a close-up of my bottom trim piece. I'm really happy with the way I drew this pattern. I cut out the rest of my bottom hutch pieces and glued the 4 layers together. Here I'm showing you that my 4 pieces glued together are a 1/16 of an inch thick. I start off by gluing the sides to the outside of the back piece. My original hutch had non-working drawers, and on this one I want to try to make one of the drawers work. Well, it won't work, but it'll be partially open so I can tuck little towels or things sticking out. So I'm creating kind of a little drawer on my drawer front. Once I had the sides figured out, I glued the sides down to a piece of scrap cardstock. Then I had to figure out where I wanted to cut a hole to slide this fake drawer into. I got a little off camera, but I'm just trimming away the drawer side from the cardstock that I had it glued down to. Then I thought about just gluing it like this, but then I changed my mind, so here I'm cutting out an opening to slide that fake drawer into. I'm just dry fitting everything and then getting ready to glue the drawer front on. I took the fake drawer out and now I'm gluing the front in between the 2 sides. Of course you could probably, I guess, make 2 fake drawers if you wanted. There is a bottom 1 and a bottom 2, and one of them is larger than the other one. And I just beveled on 3 sides and left the back straight on each one. I'm gluing the small one on top of the larger one, but I'm making sure to keep that straight edge flush for both pieces. Here I'm creating that decorative kick plate, I guess you would call it, and I'm gluing the front and back to the ends of the sides. So it will end up looking something like this. I put glue on the end of the hutch piece and I'm gluing it onto the decorative bottom piece. I'm making sure that it's staying flat in the back but also centering it on that bottom piece. Here I'm gluing that kick plate on and I'm keeping it flat in the back of the hutch and I'm keeping it centered on the bottom. Now I'm gluing the fake drawer onto the front. I'm also gluing the drawer front to the fake drawer that I created. I'm trying out the fit once more again for this drawer to make sure if I really like the way it looks. I think it's going to work out. I'm pretty pleased with the way it turned out. I'm not gluing it in at this moment though. Using plain copy paper, I cut a long skinny triangle with about a 1/4 inch thickness at one end. I'm using my cutting mat to measure off roughly about 6 inches and I'm going to cut that away. And I'm going to use the skinnier piece that's left. I'm going to create some drawer pulls with them. I need 4 of them, 2 for the top and 2 for the bottom. I'm using a quilling tool and I'm rolling them up and then gluing the ends. Here is a little close-up of the little drawer pulls. I'm going to set them aside for right now. I'm drilling the holes for the drawer pulls. I'm being careful and holding my finger here so I don't push the front end because there's nothing there supporting it. I should have drilled the holes actually before I glued the front piece on. Here is the Hutch countertop, and I made it more than 4 layers. I believe I did 8. I did bevel on 3 sides, and I'm not gluing it on at this time because I'm going to be painting it a different color. Now I'm ready to start working on the top of the Hutch. I have all the pieces cut out, and I will be starting with this back piece. It is 4 layers, but I only glued 3 together because instead of etching the wood planks into it, I'm going to cut them separately. I mean embossing, not etching. I'm also going to leave a little gap between each one. When I cut my strips, I cut some wider than others, so while I was gluing it, I tried to mix it up. This is how that turned out. I transferred the measurements of my side pieces onto some graph paper, and now I'm just drawing kind of an interesting design onto the side. You could probably come up with a better design than I did, or you could just not do anything and keep it straight. Just like the pieces that I made for the bottom hutch, I did this one the same way. I cut out the pattern and taped it to some cardstock, and then I trimmed it away. And once I had it cut out, then I glued it down to some cardstock and cut that out, and I did that for 4 layers. You will need to tape your pattern back down and make a second piece for the other side. Here I'm creating a pattern piece for the top decorative front piece. It is created like all of the other pattern pieces that I've created by first transferring the measurements to the graph paper and then drawing my decorative design. And then with this piece I need to fold it in half so that I can make both sides match. Here's how that front decorative piece turned out, and it's the same process for cutting and layering as the other pieces. I have all of the top hutch pieces cut and glued together. I have sanded my fake drawer fronts, and now I'm gluing them onto the front of the drawer face. It's also a good idea to drill the holes for your drawer pulls at this time. These pieces are my top 1 and top 2 pieces, and I've beveled on 3 sides. I did not sand on the back edge. I centered the smaller piece over the bigger piece and glued it down, keeping the back straight. I sealed all of my pieces and the bottom hutch with Mod Podge. Here I am base coating the hutch top, back, and the counter with a light tan. It doesn't need to be painted perfectly, just 1 coat will be good. I made a wash with a light brown, and I'm doing a really thin coat, making sure to keep my brush strokes all going in the same direction on the back and the counter. I don't know if they're selling Anita's paint anymore, but these are the colors that I actually used. I used Moccasin and Latte, and then of course this burnt umber. Here I'm painting a wash of the burnt umber. I'm making sure to keep my brush strokes all in the same direction, and if you want it a little bit darker, you can go over it in some areas. Here are the colors that I'm going to use to paint my hutch. I cannot pronounce that blue. I mixed equal parts of both to get my hutch color. I believe I did 3 coats. I thought everyone might like to see something besides brown all the time. I should have waited till I was finished painting before putting my shelf placement marks. I added some brown and some blue chalk pastels to my pieces, the brown on the back and the blue on the main body, just to give it some depth and some interest. First I'm gluing the sides to the outside edge of the back. I made sure to watch my shelf placement line so I didn't put my sides on backwards, or upside down. Here's how that's looking so far. I'm going to glue the top shelf in first. I already added some chalk pastels to it before I glued it. The front edge of this shelf is flush with the sides. The next 2 shelves that I'm gluing in are part of the fake drawer area, and they are a 1/16 of an inch shorter than the sides. That way it leaves room for the fake drawer front, and it will be flush with the sides. Also on these 2 shelves, I only painted one side. The unfinished side of each will face in towards each other and be hidden by the fake drawer front. Doesn't my glue puddle look kind of like Alfred Hitchcock's profile? And now I'm gluing the drawer front onto the top of those two shelves that are together. This top decorative piece I'm going to glue in between the two sides. This is the first time that I have painted as I've assembled a piece, and I like it because I remember the last time I made this hutch, it was difficult to paint in the shelf areas the way I wanted it to be. I'm adding some of the blue pastels to the sides and anywhere else that looks like it may need it. I also added some chalk pastels to the top and bottom side of the top piece. Here I'm gluing the top on, and I'm gluing the small part of the top on to the hutch itself, and the larger part is to the outside. Here is how the top part of the hutch looks complete. I didn't need to glue the drawer in after I painted it. It fits snugly, so now I'm gluing the countertop to the bottom of the hutch, making sure to keep the hutch bottom and the counter flat on the back. And now I'm gluing the hutch top to the hutch bottom, keeping it flat on the back and centering the top with the counter. You could always just make the hutch bottom without the top too, or you could just make the hutch top and put it on a different base. I needed to clean up some glue that had oozed out. Now I need to finish up the back. I'm just going to paint it, and I'm not going to worry about chalking the back because it's not going to be seen. I'm painting those little drawer pulls that I made earlier with some glue, and while they're drying, I'm going to paint the tops of some straight pins with some Mod Podge and black paint. I used the medium brown paint to paint the drawer pulls. I cut the straight pins down and ran them through the drawer pulls and glued them onto the hutch. I'm so pleased with the way this hutch turned out and my experimental way of painting it. And hopefully I have some ideas up my sleeve to maybe give some of the Western stuff a break now and then. But we'll see. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you next time.